So this breaking news on this Wednesday kind of came out of nowhere that the San Francisco 49ers are signing wide receiver Jauan Jennings to a 2-year contract extension worth up to $15.4 million, and that includes $10.5 million in guaranteed money. So the 49ers have signed a wide receiver to a contract extension. It's just not Brandon Aiyuk. That doesn't mean that the Niners are not going to come to an agreement on an Aiyuk deal, and we have an update on Aiyuk coming up on today's show. But let's spend a couple of moments talking about Jauan Jennings here. What a path. He started his career as a quarterback at Tennessee, turned into a really legitimate wide receiver for Josh Dobbs. He was actually on the receiving end of a Josh Dobbs Hail Mary against Georgia, which is an all-time college football clip, and goes from being a 7th-round pick by the Niners, who is on the practice squad for his first year, and every year that he's been in the NFL, he's gotten better and better and better. He's turned into third and Jauan, Mr. Clutch, Mr. Money Down, where he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, making big play after big play, and he's coming off a Super Bowl performance in which he was terrific. He put up the best numbers among all Niners wide receivers against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. I think this is an important move as far as the Niners culture goes. Jauan Jennings is willing to get it out of the mud, willing to get grimy. He is a great blocker. The extra effort that he shows in blocking for his teammates, whether it be a running play or a pass play, is awesome, but also him picking up yards after the catch. And I think that he's starting to scratch the surface for what he can become. And you look at the money there, that's a pretty affordable price. I think if Jennings were to hit free agency, he would have been able to sign a Kendrick Bourne type of deal, which would have given him $8 to $10 million. So this is a team-friendly deal for a player who's really valuable to what the Niners do. And with the market rate being what it is for wide receivers, I like the price point here. As far as the Niners' team-building strategy and their roster plans and their schematic plans, could we see a little bit of a difference in personnel? Because you draft Ricky Pearsall in the first round, you have Jacob Cowing, now you have Jauan Jennings under contract through 2025. This is a loaded wide receiver room. So is Kyle Shanahan, knowing what happened in the Super Bowl, they struggled with press man, they struggled in the pass game at times against Kansas City and against good defenses like Baltimore, is he going to spread it out a little bit more to have more 4 wide receiver sets? Is Jauan Jennings going to kind of be that de facto out of the slot flanking the tight end, and that gives him a role there? Because I think Ricky Pearsall, more of a slot guy, can play a little bit on the outside. Jacob Cowing, strictly a slot guy. And also, what does this mean for the Niners receiving room going into the 2025 offseason? Interesting stuff here for sure, and I thought that this deal kind of came out of nowhere for San Francisco, but if there's one person who earned this, it is certainly Jauan Jennings with his path. So Jennings, 2-year contract extension with San Francisco, now coming up on the show. Should the Niners sign David Bakhtiari? A new Brandon Aiyuk contract update. Stay tuned. All right, let's do it. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And coming up, should the Niners sign former All-Pro offensive tackle David Bakhtiari, who's been off injured but at his peak, an excellent player? Because as we know, the Niners need to address the offensive line still. And also a new Brandon Aiyuk update. The Niners confident that they can extend him and have him around with this organization for the long haul. First, I've been putting out a lot of social media content, more short-form content in addition to the long-form videos that you see right here on YouTube. If you want to give me a follow to stay in the know and interact with me, you can find me on X at Chase_Senior and on Instagram at Chase_Senior. Both platforms really blowing up. Really appreciate the support. So a question that I have received often from the faithful over the last couple of days, and honestly, dating back to the last couple of weeks, is this. Chase, should the 49ers, given their offensive line problems, especially at right tackle, give David Bakhtiari a chance to crack this roster? My answer to that coming up here in just a few moments. First, let's get you caught up on what has been a long and windy journey for the multi-time All-Pro because of a bevy of knee injuries over the last few years. Now, according to Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, Bakhtiari had a positive follow-up exam and is on schedule for a 2024 return. He was let go by the Green Bay Packers, so he's free to sign with any team in free agency. He is coming off multiple knee surgeries, and these issues started occurring repeatedly a few years ago. But he vowed in October when he was put on PUP that he was not done playing and he wanted to come back. As for that injury history, I wasn't lying when I said it's been a long and windy path for Bakhtiari. He signed a massive contract extension, and right after that, that's when these injuries to his knee started to surface. It all began December 31st of 2020. He tore his left ACL in practice. And then the following November, when he was trying to ramp up and come back, he had to undergo arthroscopic knee surgery. January 9th of 2022, he finally plays against the Detroit Lions, but has to leave that game because he wasn't feeling right. And then in the divisional round against the San Francisco 49ers, not far after that, he was inactive because the knee wasn't feeling right. April of 2022, he has to undergo another knee surgery. That was a mystery at the time. He later confirmed that, yeah, there was some fluid buildup and I had to go and get another procedure. September 18th of 2022, he plays in his first full game since he tore that left ACL in practice all the way back in December of 2020. And then in December of 22, he has to undergo an emergency appendectomy. Following September 2023, another reported surgery on that knee. So in totality, since tearing that left ACL in practice in December of 2020, David Bakhtiari has played in 13 games over the last 3 years combined. But the reason why a lot of people are curious about the player, one, he still wants to play. Two, the Niners need help at offensive tackle. And three, is there a chance that when he's able to stay healthy, if he can stay healthy, he can return to that form where he was a consecutive All-Pro from 2016 to 2020. This is why fans are intrigued by signing David Bakhtiari. He was an elite player for several years. Even before he was a consecutive All-Pro and perennial All-Pro, he was still one of the best in the game. He was also durable during that stretch. The Niners, they're set at left tackle with Trent Williams. At right tackle, Colton McKivitz, we all saw him give up 47 pressures last year. But here's my question, and here's my response to a lot of the people who have asked me if the Niners should go the route of at least giving Bakhtiari a chance. Can you count on him? Because the last few years, you have not been able to do that. On a tryout basis, you might be able to convince me. Why not? But beyond that tryout, how is the knee going to hold up? His last full season in 2020, leading to the injury that has caused so many issues, these numbers are so elite. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 91.8, a pass blocking grade of 91.6, run blocking grade of 86.9. He gave up 1 sack of Aaron Rodgers that year, no hits allowed, 9 pressures allowed, 753 snaps, all coming at left tackle, and he only committed 4 penalties. So issue number 1 is obvious. That's the injuries. But then let's talk about the position, because his position is also going to come into question. Can he even play right tackle? He has been a left tackle throughout his career. So my ruling on this, my final answer, I would pass on David Bakhtiari. Those who watch this show understand that I have not been a fan of Colton McKivitz's game. I don't think that he's a starting caliber tackle in the National Football League for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. But I can't count on David Bakhtiari. It's too much of a risk for me, even considering that he's not going to cost that much money. What do you think, though? I voiced my opinions, but the beauty about the 49ers report, this platform is for you as well. Should the Niners sign him? S for sign, P for pass. Share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section right now. Before we get to this Brandon Aiyuk update, if you're looking for a Ricky Pearsall jersey, you're in luck. Head to chatsports.com/Pearsall. Some really good deals on Pearsall jerseys if you use that link, but also some excellent deals and sale items on some other Niners jersey and Niners gear. You can still use that link, chatsports.com/Pearsall. As for the latest Brandon Aiyuk update, the Niners, according to Nick Wagner, 49ers ESPN insider, feel confident they'll be able to lock Aiyuk up to a long-term deal. As for the timeline and what to look out for in the future, Aiyuk entering his fifth-year option. He's scheduled to make $14.1 million. Will he report to Niners mandatory minicamp next week, which runs from June 4th through the 6th. The 49ers training camp, it's TBD. The typical start time for that is late in July. And the reason that I throw out minicamp is because it's mandatory. He is not reported to voluntary OTAs. We'll see if he shows up to mandatory minicamp. If not, the Niners can decide not to fine him. But that training camp start date is important because that's when pads start to pop and you start your preparations for the 2024 season, but also that's when these previous contract extensions have been signed by some homegrown players by the Niners in the last 4 off seasons. Some of them different times than others. George Kittle, a little bit longer, August 13th of 2020. Fred Warner, before that, July 21st, 2021. Deebo Samuel, the final day of July in 2022. And then the outlier there, Nick Bosa, right before the season opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers, signs that deal, which makes him the highest paid edge rusher in the history of the NFL. He didn't sign that contract until September 6th. So that's kind of the timeline here for when we can expect to see a Brandon Aiyuk deal get done. Late July, early August. And it would be a disaster if it goes into September, honestly. Hopefully that does not happen because we saw Bosa get off to a slow start. We don't want to see the same thing holding back this Niners offense from reaching their heights. Here's what Nick Wagner of ESPN had to say. He does a great job in covering the Niners. Aiyuk has not participated during the voluntary portion of the offseason program, but that's to be expected as he awaits what figures to be a lucrative contract extension. Like some of the other Niner stars before him, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa. Patience might again be the operative word. The current Niners regime has almost always gotten deals like these done, but not until later in the summer, with Bosa's not being finalized until days before last season's opener. A deal does not appear to be imminent, but the 49ers remain confident something will get done to keep Aiyuk for the long haul. As for the asking price, the report from over the weekend from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN was that Aiyuk wants Amon-Ra St. Brown money. What is that? About $28 million per year. It's certainly a lot as far as average annual value, but the guaranteed money for Amon-Ra St. Brown ranks about 13th among all wide receivers. That could be a key figure in contract negotiations as well. Would you pay Aiyuk $28 million per season? Jauan Jennings signed his contract extension. Is Aiyuk next? Y for yes or N for no?